When the unthinkable happens in a small town, the perfect facade begins to crumble. Here's the sad story of Grace Holloway, the sheriff's daughter with a secret life. What starts as a desperate search for a missing girl becomes a dark journey into the heart of betrayal, hidden desires, and a devastating truth that will leave you speechless. Join us as we unravel the shocking truth behind Grace's disappearance and the secrets that tore her family and community apart. Allenton, North Carolina, population 3,412, was the kind of place that still had pie contests, a single high school, and a diner where the waitress remembered how you liked your coffee. It was the last place anyone expected tragedy, especially the kind that would shake the town to its very core. The sudden disappearance of Grace Holloway, the beloved daughter of the local sheriff, shatters the community's sense of safety. A picture of Grace begins to emerge that no one expected, a girl longing for freedom, harboring secrets that challenge her perfect image. What begins as a presumed random abduction unravels into a haunting tale of betrayal, hidden desires, and a devastating truth buried close to home. She had been raised to embody Allenton's ideal of perfection. With her wide smile, straight-a transcript, and sparkling soprano voice in the church choir, she was the type of girl other parents pointed to and said, "Why can't you be more like her?" But on Sunday, May 19th, just 2 weeks before graduation, Grace vanished. Bonfire that evening hosted at Hollow Rock Fields. Grace had gone to a church-sponsored. Witnesses said she seemed cheerful, normal even, as she joked with friends and sang along with a guitar. Around 9:15 p.m., she said goodbye to Lily Carter, her best friend, and promised to text once she was home. Her car was found the next morning by a local jogger. It was parked on Old Juniper Road, a wooded area outside of town known for being quiet, isolated. Her purse, phone, and keys were all inside, and there were no signs of a struggle. No drag marks, no broken branches, no footprints. It was like she vanished into thin air. For most, it looked like a kidnapping. But for Sheriff Daniel Holloway, it was his worst nightmare turned real. He immediately stepped down from the investigation and called in the Special Agent Colin Reyes took the lead. North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, SBI. The entire town mobilized, flyers went up, dogs were brought in, and vigils were held. But Grace remained missing. 3 days in, the narrative began to shift. Grace's room had always been spotless, but during the search, agents found a box taped under her dresser drawer containing fake IDs, a prepaid debit card, train schedules, and a stash of letters. The letters were addressed to R and were raw, confessional. Grace had written about suffocating under the weight of her family's expectations, about secrets she couldn't say out loud. She wrote about running from being perfect, from Allenton, from the role she never asked for. Digital forensics revealed encrypted messages on her laptop, hundreds of them between Grace and someone using the alias Shadow Raven. The conversations dated back nearly a year and suggested something deeper, a relationship. The IP address led to someone Grace had known her whole life. Mason Carter was 24, Lily's older brother. Quiet, reclusive. He worked as a mechanic at his father's auto shop and kept to himself after a rough adolescence. He had a sealed juvenile record, but nothing violent. He admitted to having been in touch with Grace. They had reconnected after he fixed her car the previous summer. The messages, the letters, the planned escape, it was all true. "Yes, I saw her that night," he told investigators. "I was supposed to take her to the train station. She changed her mind. Said she wanted to think, but Agent Reyes wasn't buying it." A search of Mason's garage turned up a burner phone used to message Grace and a hoodie with a strand of her blonde hair caught in the zipper. Still, there was no blood, no weapon, no body. Just circumstantial evidence and a town desperate for answers. Then, Reyes noticed something off. The train ticket in Grace's possession was never used. Surveillance from the Charleston station confirmed that she never arrived. A week later, a groundskeeper reported a strange, foul odor coming from behind the Holloway property near an old, unused shed. A team was dispatched. There, buried beneath a foot of dirt and stone, was Grace's body. Her cause of death, blunt force trauma to the back of the skull. Nearby were her blooded clothes and a pair of gloves. Inside the gloves, fingerprints belonging to Sheriff Daniel Holloway. The man who had cried in front of cameras. The man who had led the community's prayers. Confession came within hours. He said he received an anonymous tip that Grace was planning to leave that night with some degenerate and bring shame to their family. He followed her after the bonfire, watched her meet Mason, and when she walked off alone, he intercepted her in the woods. She said she hated me. Daniel confessed, sobbing, said she didn't want to be Grace Holloway anymore. I told her she was throwing away her future, everything we built. She tried to walk away. I grabbed her arm. She screamed. I pushed her. She fell. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. After realizing she was dead, Daniel panicked. He carried her home, buried her behind the shed, and planted evidence on Mason to deflect suspicion. He had tried to protect his image, not his daughter. The town was gutted. Daniel Holloway was charged with second-degree murder, obstruction of justice, and tampering with evidence. He took a plea deal and was sentenced to 25 years without parole. Margaret Holloway filed for divorce and left town, unable to live with the betrayal or the house where her daughter's laughter once echoed. Grace was buried under the magnolia tree at First Baptist Church, the place she sang every Sunday since she was a little girl. Her tombstone reads, Grace Holloway, a light too bright to stay each. Each May, Allenton holds a memorial vigil in her name. Porch lights flicker across the town that once knew her as perfect. But now, they remember her as something deeper, flawed, complex, yearning, real. And somewhere in the hush of that Carolina night, people still say they hear her singing ... What do you think about the judgment for Daniel? Let's know in the comments section below.